Hi friends, I'm OJ Jarvis, and welcome back to Lewis Jarvis Show. Select my top 5 video for my spotlights from Warhammer 40k 8th edition. Why don't we do a top 5 video for my spotlights that came out during Warhammer Age of Sigmar 2nd edition? And of course, these were spotlights for me, something that I felt made a huge impact for 2nd edition. So again, this is my list. However, I'll be interested in hearing your top 5 lists in the comments down below this video, your own spotlights for what came out during 2nd edition. But anyways, let's not waste any more time, let's get the show on the road. So for 2nd edition, I felt like Games Workshop did something extra special for the Stormcast Eternals. Not only giving us more different ranges, giving us both male and female models, but also doing something extra special for their named characters. I don't think there's any other character that best represents this than Aventus Firestrike. Seeing this model for the first time, guys, I was like, wow, if I had the extra money, I would definitely start a Stormcast Eternal army because he is definitely the centerpiece that almost any Stormcast Eternal players would want to have in their army. And I especially like the mount that Aventus himself is riding upon. A sort of combination between a dragon, a Pegasus, and a ram from what I could see. Truly a centerpiece for any Stormcast Eternal players. And something that gave me a second chance to the Stormcast Eternals. Something that made me go, you know what? Maybe the Stormcast Eternals are pretty cool after all. And from here, it only got better. With the arrival of AoS, and with characters like Slaanesh being put into the background, many people were concerned about what would happen to the prince. Because Games Workshop putting her in the background, people were concerned that they're going to eventually write her out, that they were trying to go for a wider, younger audience. But with 2nd edition, and with the arrival of the Hedonites of Slaanesh Battletome, I think this concern was thrown out the window. That Slaanesh wasn't going anywhere, she was staying within the setting, and not only that, but have an army just like her siblings. And yeah, I could have used the updated Battletome that came out during the same edition for this list, because, you know, it included new units and it brought back the character Sigvald. I still think it's this Battletome that is the spotlight that needs to be put on this list. Because after all, it was with this Battletome that showed to everyone that Slaanesh wasn't going anywhere. Not only that, but have an army like everyone else. And because of that, I think it's only appropriate that it should be this Battletome to be on the list like this. During the events of Psychic Awakening for 40k, I sort of had a miserable time reading through these books because, as you all know, I don't really find them to be an enjoyable read. I wasn't enjoying them, and I was only collecting the books just out of the habit of being a collector. During this time, though, this is when AoS revealed its very own campaign book. That book being Wrath of the Everchosen. And you know what, guys? During the monotony of reading through these Psychic Awakening books, Wrath of the Everchosen was a book to help break that monotony. Something that gave me satisfaction and something that 40k couldn't do at the time. And of how much I appreciated for giving me something that 40k couldn't, it's this book that has made it on this list. If Wrath of the Everchosen was a stuffed chocolate chip cookie, then Broken Realms Morathi will be a slice of pumpkin pie. And, you know, I kind of think of it, maybe not even a slice of pie, but an entire pie on its own. Like I mean it, guys. The entire lore section of this book basically makes up the entirety of Phoenix Rising. But it's not just a info dump of lore. It's a narrative. It's a story. Something in which they use the experience that they had with Wrath of the Everchosen to create something even greater, something bigger, something to one-up Wrath of the Everchosen. It kept me reading page after page, and it got me excited for what was to come for the series of Broken Realms. The first book for any series has a lot of weight that it needs to carry, because after all, it needs to make a good impression for any reader to continue buying and reading the books that would come afterwards. Not only did Broken Realms Morathi got me hooked into wanting to continue the series, but it was with Broken Realms Morathi that made me love the setting. I can't wait to see what sort of campaign book that Games Workshop has in store for us for AoS 3rd edition. I bet it's going to be something really cool, and I certainly can't wait to find what's in store for us. It was not easy to pick the number 1 spot for this list. So many great things came out during AoS 2nd edition, yet if I didn't pick this character, if I didn't pick this model to be the absolute spotlight for a list like this, I think I would be lying to myself. Lying to myself on what made such a huge impression on me for AoS. Something that left such a great mark, not only the AoS fanbase, but also for fantasy players, and probably the entire Warhammer community. Let me explain. Many characters from Warhammer Fantasy were brought into the AoS universe, either becoming gods or very powerful characters in their own right. But it was with this character. He came back as a Titan. And as a Titan, there's no other character, no other god that could leave such an impression like a Titan could. Or in this case, a Titan of a dwarf. Gotrek Gurson is that spotlight for AoS 2nd edition. Not only is he a huge character from Warhammer Fantasy, but I think in the entire Warhammer community, because he and Felix are such huge characters that when the end times arrived and Gotrek entered the realm of chaos and Felix was left to his fate at the end of the world, it was a bittersweet ending that people could appreciate, even with the fact that the fantasy world was retiring. But when AoS happened, and because Gotrek was able to come back during 2nd edition, I think it's safe to say the Warhammer Fantasy world was but chapter 1 in Gotrek's story. Him coming back to AoS is him starting a new chapter, starting a new series of stories. And even though Felix won't be there with him, I think he and Malnith are going to have some grand adventures. And considering the Realm Slayer audio dramas and Ghoul Slayer and Git Slayer, these adventures are proving to be something awesome. And of course, comparing him to models like Teclis, Archaon, or Nagash is not really a grand looking model. Because, it's just him staying on top of some rubble with his axe in hand and the Master Rune in the other. But you know what? This subtlety makes the model something special on its own right. Characters like Gotrek don't need to ride upon a monster of a steed or flying in the air with magical powers lifting him afloat. All that Gotrek needs is a mighty axe. This Titan of a dwarf was my spotlight from AoS 2nd edition. Of course, this was but my spotlight for stuff that came out during AoS 2nd edition. I would, however, like to hear your list in the comments down below this video. What's your top 5 lists of stuff that came out during 2nd edition? What do you think of my list personally? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below this video. But with all said and done, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all again next week with a brand new video. Have a good day, everyone. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to subscribe, then make sure to activate the bell notification button so you'll never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll see you again soon. Have a good one.